Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome in to another Saturday night here at the Sixth Range. We really appreciate your presence. And wow, we got a great program going on tonight, and very, very excited. I'm very, very excited tonight. We're seeing lots of things that are very critical going on in the Watchtower, very negative for them. And I'll tell you what, we're so glad to report the news here. What we do is every Saturday night, we do this news, and every other Sunday, I try to bring you right up to speed on what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. I have people all week long sending me information, like a news clearinghouse here, really. People send me information all the time, all day long, all night long, whenever they get something coming across the internet. So I want to thank all those people that do that. And they send it to jwworldnews@gmail.com. And then I can pick the best stories that are going all over the internet. So we're looking forward to tonight's stories as well. And we got a couple of real doozies. Well, anyways, my name's Rick Farron. I'm coming to you from the apostate capital of the world, right up here in Boston, Massachusetts. And what a refreshing arrangement this is to be able to come on every Saturday night and talk with my best friends. All of my friends can come in here and we can have a great community. In fact, some people say this is more than just an audience, Rick. This is a community. And that's what we're trying to do, is create a wonderful community where we can all come together in real time and talk to one another every Saturday night and every other Sunday. Well, anyways, let's take a look and see what's brewing on our news desk tonight. Well, I mean, if you get on the internet, if you get on the different forums that ex-Jehovah's Witnesses go on, if you listen to the YouTube videos this week created by ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, you're going to find that a lot of news covering the CSA, child sex abuse in the Watchtower. It's getting lots and lots of coverage. I counted 50 places where it was mentioned. From the Fortune Network to you name it, they were on there. Fox, CBS, all over the place. And we're gonna play a little video just to kind of bring you up to speed. Michelle Henry. Well, Michelle, she's the Attorney General in Pennsylvania, and boy, she is a pit bull, and she's not giving up. She was molested herself when she was a young girl, not by Jehovah's Witnesses, but evidently by someone that molested her, from what she seems to say in her tape. But anyways, we're going to play a little video of that just to kind of bring you up to speed, kind of set the tone for what we'll be talking about tonight. So let me just see if I can't find that clip with Michelle in it. I do see it right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share it. Let me just get back into my StreamYard platform here. And I'm going to share this. So just give me a second. I want to be able to do that. Okay, so let me just be able to share this video of the Attorney General in Pennsylvania. I think you'll find it very, very fascinating. She's going after the witnesses big time, and we are so glad that she's doing that. So let's do this. Here it is right here. Let's play it. You'll hear it if you're on a radio network, but you'll see it and hear it if you're on Facebook and on YouTube. So let's share it right now.
And their cases are at different points in the criminal justice system, but for one individual who took his own life when our agents were attempting to apprehend him. As I have said before, the details of these cases that I will be talking about are incredibly disturbing. The 5 defendants that we have charged today were all adults in positions of trust with these victims. And they violated that trust and they abused these children. Children are some of our most vulnerable members of society. And they should be nurtured and protected. But instead of protecting these children, the defendants violated and abused them. I can assure you that my office remains steadfast in the commitment to investigate, prosecute, and hold accountable individuals that prey on children. And while these 5 cases have their own set of facts and circumstances and different victims, there are common factors. All 5 men had the trust of the victims and their families. And all 5 men were members of the Jehovah's Witness congregation, and many of them gained access to their victims through this organization.
Okay, that's the part I wanted to show you. And that's exactly what they did. They gained access because they were elders and ministerial servants. And what Michelle was saying there is they were all Jehovah's Witnesses. And boy, she's coming down heavy on them. And what a wonderful thing that is. And we really appreciate what Michelle Henry is doing in the state of Pennsylvania. Good job, Michelle. So yeah, it's an amazing situation that's going on in the Watchtower. They've been trying to cover this up for years now, but they've been very unsuccessful. But what I also came across here is an article. I'm going to show you a picture here. Came across an article in the Philadelphia Inquirer this week. And wow, it's just amazing what's taking place all over the world, but particularly here in the United States. There's getting tremendous amounts of coverage about the Jehovah's Witnesses. And I'm going to put this shot up here, this screenshot. Now that right there, I read an article in the Philadelphia Inquirer, and that is a major newspaper in this country. And look at the picture there. Can you see the picture of the young girl? Yeah, well, let's talk a little bit about her. Her name is Sarah Brooks. And the article, I read the article, and I'll read portions of it to you. Sarah Brooks was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. She was sexually abused for 2 years when she was a teenager by a male family friend and a former sister-in-law. So see, even in the organization, there's just not male pedophiles. We've also heard incidents here of female sister-in-law, woman, who was also involved in sexual abuse to young Sarah. Now, Sarah is shown in that picture in a room in her home that she uses as a painting studio. She is surrounded by some of her paintings in Pennsylvania. She lives in Felton, Pennsylvania. And she now is, having to deal with therapy. She continues art therapy. And that helps her to be able to get rid of some of the abuse in her mind that's been in there and plaguing her. Now, Sarah was just 15 when 2 fellow Jehovah's Witness adults raped her. They started sexually assaulting her. 15 years old, 2 adult men. The abuse would last for more than a year before Brooks broke down and did what children are taught to do if someone harms them. You'd go to your parents. Children should go to their parents and tell them that something is happening to me that's not good, it's not clean. So the parents and Sarah went to the elders. They alerted the elders, and they warned that if Brooks contacted police, she would bring reproach on Jehovah's name. Well, we've heard that before, right? So if you go to the police, you're going to bring reproach on Jehovah's name. And according to the lawsuit filed in June, just this year, against the Watchtower, that's what it says in the lawsuit. So other elders who investigated her claim wrote in a public notice that Brooks had been reproved, meaning she's done something wrong and repented. So isn't that something? So here we have 2 men raping Sarah, 15-year-old girl, and they punish Sarah. They say that she did something wrong and she repented. See, to dirty up the name so the elders who did this to her wouldn't look so bad. So despite being shunned by family members and friends, Sarah Brooks moved forward with reporting her abuse to the authorities. And that triggered an emergency meeting of elders when they learned that the York County District Attorney's Office would seek records about Brooks' abuse in their investigation. What did they do when they learned that they were going to start looking into the congregation? Well, the elders said, "We bought a shredder." Let me repeat that, friends. This is a crime. We bought a shredder. I'm reading this right out of the newspaper. We bought a shredder, and they were going to shred all of the evidence or all of the information that was taking place in that congregation. Friends, that is a crime. And boy, I'll tell you what, this is now being reported. People are reading this. Hopefully the witnesses are seeing it. That is trying to cover something up, right? Now, under more scrutiny, the Pennsylvania Attorney General has probed the organization's handling of sex abuse. Isn't that great what Pennsylvania is doing? They're looking really deep into what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower when it comes to CSA. Now, just on Friday, July 7th, that's a week ago, there were also 5 other witnesses that were charged with sexual assault. Isn't that something? My goodness, I can't believe all this negative press on the Watchtower. So a spokesman for the witness organization said that he did not directly address the allegations in Brooks' lawsuit, but wrote in a statement that the organization is sickened by news about abuse. Friends, do you really believe the organization is sickened by news about sexual abuse? They've been covering it up. They're probably sickened that, they're now being looked into. They're now being probed, and many being arrested. They're probably sick about that, but they're certainly not sickened about hearing about victims in the Watchtower that have been sexually abused. See, the Watchtower requires elders to follow a careful process for collecting information about child sexual abuse, compiling their findings on documents called S-77 forms, and mailing copies to the Watchtower headquarters in New York. Brooks' lawsuit accuses witness elders of destroying many of the records of her case and of ignoring Pennsylvania's Child Protective Service law, which requires leaders of churches or religious organizations to report suspected child abuse to authorities. So, this is just unbelievable what's taking place now. Some of the organization, that is Watchtower organizations, internal records show that witness leaders have for decades instructed elders to instead report abuse and allegations to the organization's legal department and to resist cooperating with search warrants from police. Well, we know that's what they did. They didn't go to the police. They went to the Watchtower itself. So a spokesman for the witnesses did not directly address the allegations. He just says they're sick about all this sexual abuse that's taken place. No, they're not sick, as we said before. Well, Sarah Brooks, right now she's 35 years old, and she wants the organization's leaders to face accountability. And I've come across terms with what happened to me, she said, and pieced my life back together again. That's what she told the Inquirer. She's coming to terms with it. She says, sometimes I'm just doing what I need to do in order to survive. Other times my backbone is stronger and I feel like I can fight this fight. Her lawsuit comes at a fraught moment for the Watchtower, at a very stressing moment for the Watchtower. With all the other lawsuits in Pennsylvania now really making the news, headlines all over Pennsylvania, all over the country. So we have got some serious problems, and we are starting to see the Watchtower coming under heavy-duty investigation. So like many ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, Sarah Brooks has spent years disentangling herself from the organization's insular culture and rules, some which have helped to protect sexual predators. Now, I don't know if I could. Now, I want you to think about this. I don't know if I could, or maybe you could. I could. I don't know if I could handle the level of satisfaction of seeing a member of the governing body in handcuffs. Wouldn't you love to see that? I think I'd probably fall on the floor. I would love to see that. CSA certainly is something that in the Watchtower is just, it could be the very thing that downfalls the Watchtower. Well, anyways, you're on JW World News. Do you have any comments or thoughts on these child sex abuse in the Watchtower? If you do, I'd like to hear from you. I really would. Have you heard about the latest and everything that's going on? It's all over the internet. It is just absolutely unbelievable. Well, even to just say, I'll tell you what, I'm going to put my phone number up here so you guys can see it because people want to probably come in. Go ahead. You're on with us. It looks like a 906. You're on with us, 906.
Yeah. Hello, Mr. Fern.
Yes.
Yeah, first of all, on a nicer note, I want to wish you a happy birthday and stolat, nežianam yeščeras, which means good health, good cheer, may you live 100 years in Polish. So happy birthday to you and everybody from in the Six Screens Network and everywhere.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Ken.
And I wanted to get that across first because, and I just wanted to comment, I reiterate what I said earlier. The protest has done a lot of good there because on the local news, first time in 20 years, on the morning news here last Monday, it was all over the news of the indictments in Pennsylvania and Michelle Henry going after the Watchtower Society for the pedophilia cases. That was all over the news there. And so the protests that are going on are doing very good. And I didn't have a chance to comment on the other stuff earlier, but they talked about the Witnesses of Jehovah film earlier on the Six Screens Network. No, not the Six Screens, but on Ed Marie's program. And they talked about some of the stuff that went on. And then that program right there showed how back in 1986, they were protesting in front of the Watchtower Society with all kinds of signs there. And of course, a couple people that's passed, I think one of them's passed away now, made the famous comment. He said, "We come to call your attention to a false prophet, the kind Jesus warned us about." Of course, that was Bill Sentner. Then another guy from the lower Michigan, northern Michigan and the lower peninsula congregation that left there said, they put themselves up in the place of Christ to something the Bible does not teach. And so that stuff right there culminated into what's going on today. So anybody thinks that their call didn't make a difference and that their voice didn't make a difference, it sure did. Because like I always said, one vote counts. And so I think we're seeing it happen now.
Well, it is happening, Ken. Thank you very much for coming and commenting. And in fact, even when it comes to child sex abuse, well, we do have Gilbert Gonzalez, GG for GB. He's on with us. Go ahead, Gilbert.
Hey, Rick, there's a comment on the chat. Gorgeous Chrome said, maybe this sounds mean, but I would rather see every elder who shredded charged more than the governing body. If that happened, it would cause chaos in all the congregations. And he's right, because, I seldom call like my senator or my House members, but on this particular one, I think I'm going to make an exception and have to do something because he's right. Imagine if more elders start getting arrested or they start getting charged. That will send a shockwave to all 50 states. Think about that. And then every one of us could be emailing these articles to the local elders, or maybe even, but letting them know. That I think will, because remember Edmund Burke says the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. Watchtower banks on the elders doing their dirty work. But So when the elders find out that, hey, my friends are getting arrested, I really think, and also there's no such thing as coincidence. You know how they just added 5 more? Now there's 14 people. Before there was 9. Now there's 14. Think about that. 9 and 14. I'm telling you, Rick, we are not alone in the universe. There's some crazy things happening in the world. But I just wanted to mention that point that we should call the state of Pennsylvania and encourage them to set an example that will ripple through all 50 states. What do you think?
Oh yeah, no, I think that's wonderful. Yeah, it's we could contact Pennsylvania Attorney General Michelle. It's right on their website. You can go to their Pennsylvania Governor. It's actually .gov website, and you can get to the Attorney General's office, leave a message. I might do it myself. I mean, if enough of us did it, would work. Thank you, Gilbert. Yeah. All right, well, that was Gilbert. Listen, we do have some people. We have JW Suicides. I guess they wanted to come on the line. If you're on our line right now, the best way to come on is hit *1. Is it *1 or *6? I think it's *6. Hit *6, and that'll bring you on. *6 will bring you on. All right. Well, let me see if we got what we have going on here. All right. If you want to come on, hit *6. That will bring you on the phone call. All right. Okay. So anyways, we'll go back and take a look at this. Well, anyways, I want to bring this up. Because I think it's very important. You won't believe what the witnesses did. But okay. I do see people coming in here now. Let's go to. Let's go to. It looks like Dick Borgie. Go ahead, 978.
Yeah, again, Rick, happy birthday. And my comment would be that, and I've used this comment on 6 screens for the last 17 years. I studied with a pedophile, and he told me that there was 4 others that he knew of in my congregation that were pedophiles. And I told one of the elders, and he said, look, keep that under your hat. Don't even tell your wife or anybody else. Because it would cast aspersions on Jehovah's name or paint Jehovah's name in a bad light. So you'd be correct, Rick. That's what they do. They want to hide it, sweep it under the carpet, pretend it doesn't exist. But now it's all coming out, and I'm thrilled about it. Thanks, Rick.
Yeah, I'm thrilled about it too, Dick. It's just totally amazing. I feel the same way you do. I'm glad to see the witnesses under this scrutiny. As a matter of fact, just during the midweek meeting, I think most of you might have heard about this, but maybe not. But the Watchtower is starting to come out a little bit and discuss some of these things. But before we discuss what the Watchtower did during the midweek meeting, we do have our good friend Dan. It looks like he's coming in from Denver, Colorado, or out there in Idaho, I believe. Is that you, Dan?
Yeah, it is, Rick. How you doing? Happy birthday to you.
Well, thank you.
Good one.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to tell you, just listening to that, unconscious people that don't give a shit, people that put men above order. Like this was a girl. This was a young girl that got raped by 2 men. And to have them consciously, knowingly covered up, shred the stuff, to be good boys, to really governing body. But the only thing that's going to wake up the unconscious is discipline, harsh discipline. And to say you can't do this to children, you dumbasses, and to say, you know what? I forget what I was going to say, but this girl deserves justice. This girl deserves, you can't just unconsciously put her out of your mind thinking Jehovah don't see it, or we can't bring reproach upon Jehovah, and Jehovah's watching. Jehovah's actually watching this girl get raped. How stupid are you? How stupid are you as elders to do this? And to put that, I got to protect organization's rep, Jehovah's rep, over a girl. A girl can get raped for a year. Put that over the innocence of this person, and you could see. So Rick, I'm with this bulldog lady. I'm I'm praying for justice, and I'm praying for it to go to the top, because the people on the top are the people that are running the damn ship. They're the ones taking the ship through the water. We got to navigate through this ship. It's a storm, but we'll get through. No, you will not get through. You will not get through this storm. And that's why I'm glad this lady's coming on, because she's like, no, she's been there. And that's what's beautiful, Rick, like you said. This woman's been there. She's been abused, and she knows what it is. And she knows what it is to be ignored. She knows what it is to be looked over or said that didn't happen. So now that they've got these guys, they got to take it all the way to the top. Because, Rick, it's so sad that all my life, I'm like most people. I thought Watchtower was squeaky clean. I really did. I thought, man, we build halls and, we don't ask for money. We do this and we do that. I thought this was squeaky clean, backed by Jehovah. But, man, when you hear stuff like this about a young girl being raped for a year by two men, and then that them covering it over, not caring. Rick, think about that. I always say this on the show. They're heartless, because a heart would not let a person do this. And they're consciously, and Rick, I'm going to tell you too, I've heard it now, I'm hearing it every day too, about these women. Either they watch their husbands, or they participate with their husbands, or they're doing it themselves. I think this week I've heard 2 more cases of women now being involved in this kind of stuff. And I'm like, gross. And so they've got a real problem in the organization. And what pisses me off, Rick, is governing body on top is just grinning their ass through it, doing pump presses, smiling, pretending not a damn thing's happening. How can you do that consciously? How can you run an organization of millions of people and not have a press conference? How could you not fly into Pennsylvania and say, we are sorry. These men will be removed and punished with the severest of discipline. This should have never happened. But these pieces of shit are on top, grinning, to impress, doing fake. It's wrong. It's wrong, Rick. So, man, God bless this girl, and thank God for this can of worms to be open, and I hope more people come forward, because this bullshit about protecting Jehovah's name has got to go. Don't you agree, Rick?
Well, Dan, I do, but I'm going to read you the next article I got here. It's going to infuriate you, and I know you have a lot of passion and commitment to exposing these bums, but on the midweek meeting this week, at the end of the meeting, the last 5 minutes of the meeting, they started talking about child sex abuse. And interestingly, the conductor, now this is in all the meetings of Jehovah's Witnesses around the country, maybe around the world, but at least in all the country. So at the end of the meeting, it's interesting how the conductor who was conducting the meeting, he said that child sex abuse can even occur in the Kingdom Hall congregations. I mean, I'm shocked. I'm really shocked. Now, let's Dan,
this is the possibility. It may come to our congregation, maybe.
Well, I don't want you to get too infuriated. I know, Dan, you do get a little angry, and rightfully so, but he's saying that now they're bringing it up. This is brought up in all the congregations around the country, from what I understand. So I'm shocked that they seem a little more open in discussing this now. Could it be that Watchtower is trying to normalize? They say, we know about the problem and we need to wait on Jehovah. That's what they're saying. But the child sex abuse right now in the Watchtower is getting too big for them to control. So you have to.
That's the only reason, Rick. That's the only reason at all. If it was just a case here and there, they could care. They could care less. They're just going to go on doing their showboating, doing their presses, doing their things, smiling. But that policy, Rick, I think that policy has to go. The one where it says we're protecting Jehovah's name. That was the one I heard too. I had the same thing happen, but it was for alcoholism and stuff. We don't want to talk about drinking, but because we don't want to bring reproach upon Jehovah. But that's the one where the society on top. I think anything less, Rick, than public apologies. I think that's why this lady's going after him.
Yeah.
He sees how dirty they are.
Oh, they're very dirty. But
dirt.
this meeting the other night, Dan, they're now trying to normalize this situation with child sex abuse, and they're trying to get it out. And it's not that big of a deal. That's what they're trying to do. It's called damage control. So they mention it without making a big deal about it, and then thinking, well, maybe nobody will really notice it. It reminds me, Dan, I don't know if you ever saw the program, but there was like a reality program on a few years ago. It was called The Duggars. And it was these were Christian fundamentalist family, and they had 19 children, 19 kids, and they were on a TV show, reality TV show. And when it came out that their son molested some of their daughters, the family covered it up. They forced the daughters to go on TV and explain it away that it wasn't that bad and it's pretty normal in every family. That this is what they did. And
I see.
You see what I'm talking about? So they're trying to they're trying to normalize it. They're trying to, so those Duggars came on and they made it seem like it wasn't a big deal to those girls. Well, it was a big deal to the girls. So the Watchtower is doing the same thing right now. Same thing. And Dan, what really irritates me, and I'm getting very aggravated when I think about it, but back in the 1980s, the Watchtower pointed its fingers at the Catholic Church when their child sex abuse issues were first coming to light. And the Watchtower in print, along with many statements from the platform and comment from the rank and file, pointed out how this is one of the many horrible things the Catholic Church was guilty and proof of their not having God's backing. I can remember that. I
remember that too.
I was a witness.
The church was the target.
Yeah.
You know, hey, Rick, I want to say one thing real quick.
Go ahead, yeah.
There was a guy from the UK that called me yesterday. He doesn't want his name revealed, but he said this. Have you ever heard of it, Rick? Did you guys say this name called Pim Q instead of Pimo Pim Q? Have you ever heard of that?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Okay. Well, he said that he's physically in. He's still a witness, former elder, pioneer, and he said, but he's mentally questioning. And he said that fits me perfect. But he said this to me. He said, "Is it possible? If it's possible, I would like to tell Rick Fearon and the Six Screen audience that I love them to bits, and that Saturday is my favorite day of the week because of the show being live on YouTube." He's coming out. He said it's a slow process, but he's coming out, and he's so happy. I actually talked to him. I saw him writing. I saw somebody writing in Messenger, and I called him, and he just had a tear in his eye, and he's like, "Man, somebody's talking to me." And he said he's having a crisis of conscience. He said he can't take it anymore. He said, I'm going to the elders. I'm saying, you baptizing these kids is child abuse. You know what I mean? It's wrong. You can't do that. And how can they make a commitment to Jehovah at that young age? And they're saying, what the hell's wrong with you? And he said he can't stop now. He said his mouth is open, his throat is open, and he said he can't stop. So he's glad you're there. He's glad this community's here. He said he's so glad. He was so happy, Rick. If you could have heard him, he was so happy to connect. We were happy to connect with him. He's a very good guy. And, you know, maybe when he's out more fully, he's going to call in. But I want you to know, you know, on your birthday, you know, the show, Rick, this show is making a difference. Every voice counts. Everyone that calls in, people are listening, and people are waking up. Right, Angela? And my heart was moved by this guy the other day. It really was. And I know he's listening right now, but he's in tears that there's this beautiful group that's willing to come forward, willing to share, no matter how bad it is. They're willing to share their stories and put it out there so that everyone can see and hear. And so anyway, just wanted to pass that on, Rick.
Well, Dan, thank you for that. And that's a great birthday present to know that. It really is. And I have to tell you that we have a team here, yourself and everyone else, that Dick Borgie and Constance and Anne Marie and Randy and all the people that speak up here, your wife Angela, it makes a big difference. It really does. In fact, we're like one big team. We're all working together to expose the Watchtower. And I have to tell you, too, that the Jehovah's Witness organization, they are in deep doo-doo. Even at that protest, we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But talking about people listening into the 6 screens, we did a protest last Sunday in front of the convention center here in Lowell, Massachusetts. And one of the, before the convention ended, one sister came out early, and she came right by us, stopped the car, rolled the window down, and she says, "Man, I am glad you guys are here." She says, "I can't take this organization anymore." She says, "I'm a PMO. I'm just here because she doesn't want to get disfellowshipped and have all kinds of problems." But she says, "I listened to the 6 screens, and you made my day," she said, by showing up here at the convention. So I was so pleased with that. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit. We got a man coming on that was there with me at the protest, and he's going to talk about what happened when he went into the stadium, just like you and Angela did. He's got some things to share with us, Dan. It's wonderful.
Awesome. Okay, Rick, and one other guy from Detroit said the same thing. Great show. He wants to say a few things. He can't right yet, but another guy, another PMO, he said, "Keep up the good work." Okay, Rick, that's it.
Oh, good man. Well, thank you very much. Well, my goodness, we're moving forward, and I'll tell you what, many people are coming out. But I'll tell you what, we were just saying how at the end of the meeting, midweek meeting this week, they brought up the fact that there's pedophiles even in some of in our congregations. I mean, that really rocked many people. They don't know how to handle. They never heard of that, but they just kind of pass it off. And, they like to boast how they're so different from all of the other religions of the world. And then when it does come out that they have pedophiles in their own congregations, well, they always seem to come up with an answer. So they say, well, this happens everywhere. There's pedophiles in every organization. They say that instead of saying, well, why is it happening here? This is supposed to be the true organization. This is Jehovah's organization. Why is it happening here? Okay, 602 Arizona. Go ahead. You're on with us. All right, let's go with 978. That's Dick Borgie. Go ahead, Dick.
Thank you, Rick. When we were at the Songus Arena last Sunday, we just had a sign up that we were holding, and it was the Jehovah's Witnesses cover-up pedophilia. And a woman drove up and said, "Well, you know what? That's everywhere. All of the religions have it." And that's to your point, like they're trying to say, well, pedophilia is really not that bad of a thing, even though it destroys young people's lives. And to a further point, when I came into the cult, back in 1970, I was told that the congregation, that if anybody was committing serious sin, that Jehovah's Holy Spirit would be taken from the congregation. The elders would be aware that the Holy Spirit was withdrawn from the congregation. They would do an investigation, and they would find the evildoer and disfellowship them. Well, we're finding out that elders are the evildoers, especially the ones that are covering up child molestation. Thanks, Rick.
Well, Dick, we were so glad to have you out at the convention, you and Connie with us. That really made our night. We had a great time last Sunday. We're going to talk about that very, very shortly. Okay, let's go with 540. 540, you're on with us.
I just wanted to say happy birthday. And those cars at that footage last week, all those rich cars, that was exciting, Rick.
Well, I don't know if the witnesses went out and took notes out on, taking loans out, thinking Armageddon's right around the corner. I'm not sure what's going on with that. But, hey, I saw Mercedes. I saw Lexus. I saw electric cars, Teslas. It was unbelievable. Unbelievable. Witnesses must be getting rich or something. I'm not sure.
I don't know. I better move to that county.
Jeez. All right. We got 203. 203. You're on with us. Go ahead, 203.
Hello, happy birthday, Rick.
Well, thank you very
this is
much,
Carrie.
Carrie. Yeah, Carrie,
Oh,
thank you.
great. Okay, so I got my invitation to go to Massachusetts for July 28th, 29th, and the 30th. Did you know there's going to be one up at Amherst, Massachusetts?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Okay, well, I got my invitation, but it wasn't handed to me because I was busy and I didn't answer the door. And that poor woman had to walk up a very long driveway to get to me, and her and the gentleman. And I felt sorry, but I wasn't about to answer the door. I didn't want to get into it. And they left me that nice invite. So, you know, I was just wondering if you got yours yet.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I did get mine. It wasn't an invitation, but darn it, I should have had it in front of me here. I think I might go get it and show it to you guys. It came in the mail this week, and a witness was just inviting me to get onto jw.org. That's what they do these days. They just invite you to get on jw.org. It was just a simple little letter. Hi, I wanted to reach my neighbor and let them know that there's good tidings coming from the Bible. And then they said that if you want to learn more about good things, you can go to jw.org. That's it. That's what the witness preaching work has come to. They don't have to be sharp like we had to be, Carol. It's unreal. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the exercise patience is still going on. So I just want to let you know that I got my invite.
Excellent. Well, I mean, I wouldn't go if I were you. I really wouldn't. After you hear when we have a man, we have a man coming on.
I wouldn't have the patience.
I
would not have the patience to sit there to listen to all that malarkey.
Well, we do. Well, I know you wouldn't, but we do have a man that was with us the other day at the protest, and he went into the convention, and he's going to speak about it. You might have been followed. They might have looked at you as an apostate, Carol. So this man, he was stopped.
Oh, yeah.
He was stopped by the police. He's going to be telling you about that coming up next. Wait till you hear it.
Very good. Well, thank you. Okay. Well, you have a great evening.
All right. Well, thank you, Carol. Well, oh my goodness gracious. Yeah. Well, anyways, but you know, I'll tell you what really irritates me, and I'm sure it's irritating you, is, now the witnesses, at least of the midweek meeting, they're saying that, they acknowledge there is pedophilia, there is abuse, child sex abuse in some of the congregations. But what really bothers me, when there's heavy emphasis put on this, and now that they're finding out that sex abuse does take place in the Watchtower, the witnesses, they're their way out. They slip under the door by simply saying, well, we're only human and we're imperfect. So, what happens in all organizations? That's what disgusts me. That's what disgusts me. Why don't they say that, or why don't they bring it up before they had to get to this point? But now they're being told to, well, there's pedophiles in every organization. So, and our men are imperfect. We have imperfect men. Well, let me put it this way, Dave. Now, just stop and think about it. I want you to put your spiritual thinking cap on it just for a second. In the Jehovah's Witness organization, these elders and the ministerial servants, well, they're supposed to be appointed by Holy Spirit. So the Holy Spirit would be God's, according to them, active force. In other words, Jehovah is involved in the appointing. So why would Jehovah appoint sex perverts? I mean, would God do something like that? I mean, why don't the witnesses just put their spiritual thinking cap on? I think they could work themselves out pretty quick. Well, anyways.
Great point. Hey, Rick.
Yes, go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, I just wanted to add one point that guy from the UK said, okay? He wanted everybody to know this, being an elder. He said that in the manual for elders, that special book they have, you know what it is.
Yeah.
He said in the preparing for judicial hearings, he said if you don't want them to abuse you and be able to disfellowship you, and you guys may have already brought this out of the show at some time, He says, all you got to say, and they reiterated this to the elders, that if somebody says they're suicidal, if you tell the elders I'm suicidal, they can't disfellowship you. And he said the other thing is, I'm going to take legal action. He said, because if you let them disfellowship you, you can be abused. You'll lose your family. You'll be chopped off. You'll be beat to the nth degree. So he said, all you got to say is, hey, dudes, I'm suicidal, or I'm going to take legal action, and they will drop it, and they will shut the meeting down. They're told to shut the meeting down and end it. So stop everything. So he wanted you guys to know that if you don't want to hassle, you don't want to lose your family, you don't want to go that road, he said use those tools, and they won't do anything. They're required to stop. That's it, Rick.
Well, there you go. Thank you very much, Dan. I always appreciate your comments. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rick.
Can I add a point, Rick?
Go ahead. Yeah, Ron. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, I was going to add to something that Dan said earlier. He said that the governing body needed to be punished. And it kind of triggered me because I had a conversation with my wife and I said the same thing. But I went a little bit further, and I feel like the rank and file that refuse to give it up and that are on the sunk cost fallacy, they deserve to be punished too. You know, the horrible things that the Jehovah's Witnesses are doing just because the governing body tells them to do it. And from speaking from my own family, they'll never learn to be really true Christians by dominating people and being mean and shunning them and acting like they don't exist when they're full of sin too. It's a very hypocritical organization, and I agree with Dan. There has to be punishment for them to learn, because they can't say sorry. They can't just go up there and be like, you know what, maybe we should do things differently. I think we would all respect them a little bit, maybe a tiny fraction, if they at least said sorry and said we need to do things differently. You know, we'd be like, okay, finally, geez. But that's how it is, and it's frustrating. But I thought I'd add that to you, buddy. Thanks.
Well, always good to hear from Eric. Don't be a stranger, Eric. Thank you very much. Okay, we got one more caller, then we're going to go to the next story. We got a couple. Okay, go ahead. I believe that's Randy. Go ahead, Randy.
Yeah, I just had a thought. Next time, if I hear a Jehovah's Witness tell me, oh, they're in all religions, I'm going to ask them, oh, so you're saying you're no different than any other religion, huh?
Well, that's, I mean, how else would you interpret that? That you'd have to say that. Good thought. Thank you, Randy.
Hey, Rick.
Yes, go ahead, Michael.
Hey, how you doing, Rick? Happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you.
My friend tells me all the time, my witness friend that's elder said, yeah, you know, we're sinners. That's in all the religions, you know. But this is the difference, yes. But the witnesses cover it up. They cover it up, and that's where the sin. That's where the big sin is. The cover up, and that's, you know. And also, there was another point I wanted to make, and I know witnesses are listening. In this comment, they always tell me, well, they don't want to bring reproach on Jehovah's name. Well, I want to tell you, according to the Bible, if you're breathing, if you're living, you're bringing reproach on God's name. We all sin, and we all fall short of the glory of God. And that's why, if there's a witness out there listening, that's why you need Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, and not the Watchtower Bible Tract Society.
Well, amen to that, Michael. Amen to that. Thank you, Michael.
Hi, Greg.
Yes, go ahead.
Hey, it's Joey.
Yes.
I had a friend of mine. I thought it was about a year ago, before all this Pennsylvania. She says, we're talking about the subject we're talking about now. She said, well, just leave it in Jehovah's hands. And I went, if it was your grandson and it was a Catholic priest, would you say that now? Would you say it now if it happened to your grandson and it was a Catholic priest? Would you say leave it in God's hands? And I thought she was going to have a heart attack. When I said that to her. But anyway, Kim and Mikey had a good video on. I know it's just a fudge off topic, but it's a good exercise for anybody. If anybody is in New Mexico, put in New Mexico when it says find a convention and see what you come up with. I was very interested. I don't need to fact check Kim and Mikey, but I went ahead and did this. I put Albuquerque in to find a convention. They have 3 conventions where the brothers and sisters in Albuquerque have to drive to Denton, Texas. I drove to Denton, Texas from where I'm at. It is 3 hours. I drove from where I'm at to Albuquerque. It is 7 hours. So that is a 1-day drive, 10 hours, one way to go to an assembly.
That is too much. That is too much.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. In their latest video, anybody wants to do it, put in Albuquerque on find the convention and see what you come up with. There's a couple of them in New Mexico, but there's a guy in Utah, and I cannot believe it. 3 of them going to Denton, Texas. That's just, and Randy knows where it's at. Randy knows the drive between Albuquerque and Denton. That's a drive. It's like going to Albuquerque to Dallas, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all I got.
All right. Well, listen, that's good. Thank you, Chewy, for sharing that with us. Okay, one more caller, and then we're going to go to another subject. We're going to go to the protest that we just did last Sunday. Okay, so we have, looks like, Arizona, I believe. Go ahead, Arizona.
Yeah. Hey, Rick, just real quick, I forgot to tell you, and now I remembered why. About 5 years ago, I did a video saying, Jehovah's Witness elders' wives, you're going to go to jail. Because in Phoenix, Arizona, a teacher went to jail for molesting one of his students. But guess how they got him? Through his wife. His wife knew that her husband was abusing this girl, and they are now both in jail. So the point is, if you're a Jehovah's Witness woman and you're in Pennsylvania, and you got to check your state, and you know that there's a pedophile in your congregation, because we know Jehovah's Witness elders can't keep a secret, and I want you to know that the police are looking at your text messages. They might be looking at your emails. They'll get a warrant. And if you start sharing, because Rick, you and I were witness. The women talk, the men talk, and women are not protected by the minister privilege. So this happened in Phoenix, Arizona. So if you're a Jehovah's Witness woman in Phoenix, Arizona, and your husband's an elder, and you're privy to this information, you're not safe. And the prosecutor will use you to get to your husband. So that's all I have to say on the subject. Nobody is safe from prosecution here. Just because you're a woman doesn't mean you're safe.
Well, Gibble, there's going to be an awful lot of Jehovah's Witness elders and even elderettes, Jehovah's Witness elders' wives that are kind of shaking in the boots right now. Thank you for sharing that for us. King of Dots, go ahead. What do you want to say, King of Dots?
I don't know at this point, but I'm not going to wish you happy birthday. I will tell you that.
Well, that's okay. I don't celebrate birthdays anyways.
Yeah, I was raised Roman Catholic and we never celebrate birthdays. I don't think people realize that birthdays are not the end all. I did want to relate a Catholic experience. Back around 1999, the Watchtower came out with information that if you haven't officially resigned from your last church, then you are not a Jehovah's Witness. Now, we've been baptized over 20 years, probably 25 at that point. So we wrote a letter to the Archdiocese saying we're resigning from the Catholic Church. The letter came back and it said, the Catholic baptism is eternal. We will never release you from that. So that was pretty much put us in the S-hole, quite frankly. So we didn't know what to do. So that kind of got us thinking, are we Jehovah's Witnesses? Will we ever be at this point? I wanted to give a little update briefly on 75ers. What happens when you were a 75er and now you're in 2023? My friend, who I talk about a lot, her husband is having some neurological problems and they can't afford it. So she devised a plan, the witness did. We'll take you to a neurologist and we'll get you declared, what is it called, senile dementia, so you can get Medicaid for the family. Well, the doctor didn't see him as dementia. And of course, I told him, I said, you're not suffering dementia. Well, we're trying to get on Medicare, like Medicaid, like all the other people are doing, So my friend decided,
I never thought of that. I never thought of that. Yeah, a lot of these poor people, been waiting and waiting for Armageddon to come. They didn't get good jobs. They didn't want to pursue a career, and now they find themselves in financial hot water. So I guess scam the government. I guess that's probably what many are doing.
Well, everybody else is scamming the government.
Well, I will say that's true.
I try to be brief.
Well, we always love to hear from the King of Dots. Thank you, King of Dots. Thank you. All right.
Well, thank you for liking to hear from me, and non-happy birthday.
Well, that's it. Well, I still kind of, I'm glad I'm going to be 75, but I'm glad to be an old man. I'm not in any way. I like my life right now. My life is wonderful. I think
I like it. I like it being 68, but not when I look in the mirror.
Yeah, well, I don't want to go back. I know, and the people listening with young kids, you guys, man, it's hard. Geez, I don't know how you're doing it with the food prices and the house prices and the rent. It was a lot easier in my day, and I salute all of you young people that are listening into the program here tonight. It's not easy, but I'm glad I'm an old man. I don't want to go back at this point raising children. I'm glad I'm out of the Watchtower. I got a lot to be thankful for. Always good to hear from King of Dots. All right, well, let's look at what I want to do. I want to jump now. I want to go to another discussion. And of course, this discussion has to do with the Exercise Patients Convention. Well, last Sunday, we went to the convention up here, the Exercise Patients Convention in Lowell, Massachusetts. We had the 6 Screens protest team show up. And boy, were we glad to be there. What an amazing event we had. Now, I'm just going to play a small little clip, maybe about 2 or 3 minutes. Now, we do have a man that was there with us. He went into the arena. He's going to share with us his thoughts and what he so wait till you hear from Norman. So what we want to do right now is I'm going to play for you guys. I'm going to share my screen. This is us at the protest last Sunday. Now, just listen in. We'll play a little bit of it. I'll give you a little idea what's going on. So let's do it right now. Get the volume up. Front. And anyways, the witnesses will be coming out, but we do have a bunch of signs. Luke, show them the Tsongas Center itself. Span down there. That is the Tsongas Center itself. The witnesses are going to be coming out of there very, very shortly. So we're going to see what happens. We do have a bunch of signs. Luke, if you would, just span around and show the signs. Yeah, there you go. Hey, Connie and Dick, you can grab that sign right there you're looking at. That one right there. Just grab that off the stone wall there. And as they start coming out, you can stand right there. We got a number of the people here from the 6 Screens protest team. So we're going to try to really get the attention now already. Well, let me explain to you about the Tsongas Center. We're in Lowell, Massachusetts. It's approximately 100,000 people. And what you have here in Lowell, it's actually a city. It's a national park. It's actually a national park. And we did have some rangers come by, and they said that we're all right. Don't worry. You can do a mild demonstration. We're not aggravating anybody. We're here on the sidewalk. And so I'm glad you guys can join us on YouTube and Facebook. And we're glad you're listening in here today. Now, we did send a man in undercover. Norman LaRoe was with us today. He was undercover. He went in, but we did lose contact with him. But he did say that there's very, very empty seats, many of them. This whole arena holds about 6,000 people. But he was saying that there was only about 2,000 people in there. So he says empty seats all over the place. So, I mean, that's what we report here at the 6 Screens. So we're going to see the witnesses. You'll see them. We're getting some coming by already. And one woman came by, and she was all dressed up. She was in the convention. But she came by and she said, wow. She says, you guys are out here. She says, I'm really a PMO myself, but I'm here today. So she's physically in, mentally out. But she stopped by. She gave the thumbs up, and she listens to the 6 Screens, she said. So that was kind of good. So, and we did get a number of people coming by, leaving early. I wanted to catch them on the way out. We wanted to get them because this is the only way out of the arena. And they got to come right by here. They're not going to miss us, friends. So that's what's happening. We have Luke on the camera. Well, we'll get right back to that. Just give us a few minutes. We'll get right back to that. But and anyways, I found that very, very fascinating that we could go out and do that. It was really wonderful that that all happened. And I'll tell you what, I've been doing protesting now for 18 years, and I was so glad to see that this protest, in my estimation, was very, very successful. And we'll talk more about it. But before I get into the whole thing, we had a man, an undercover agent at the 6 Greens, and he went into the arena, and we were hoping to get a live feed, but of course it didn't work because of the internet connections and what have you. So I'm going to bring a man on right now. His name is Norman LaRoe. He's been associated here with the 6 Greens now for 18 years. And let's bring Norman on right now and say hello to him. Hello, Norman.
Hello, Rick. How are you tonight?
Well, I'm doing real good tonight. Good to see you. I'm glad to see that you came out of that assembly of that convention center alive. We weren't sure what was going to happen to you in there. But just to give the audience a little understanding, what Norman did is we sent him in, and we were hoping to get live footage of him taking pictures of the convention. And boy, that would have been wonderful, but we did lose contact with the internet. But Norman, why don't you explain to us what took place at the convention when you went in? What happened?
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to wish you a happy birthday, Rick. I know you may not celebrate them, but I want to wish you a happy birthday. Yeah, Rick called me a couple of days before the convention to see if I could go in undercover. I had been to the 2019 convention back, and I was able to go in with no problem. Nobody stopped me. I went in, I took pictures and video of what was happening back then. And so I figured it should be pretty easy to do it right now. So I get in my suit and I went off to go see Rick. I parked my car in the parking garage, and I went over to Rick's table. Rick's table was strategically placed right outside the exit, so there's no other way out. And so Rick was strategically placed. The signs were beautifully placed, and it was just an amazing thing to see. Rick hooked me up with my phone so that I could stream some live footage. Unfortunately, like Rick said, my phone was malfunctioning, or the internet or something happened. I tried my best to videotape, but I couldn't. So after Rick set me up, instead of walking right to the convention, I walked across the street and went around so people couldn't see me going right from his table right to the convention, because I didn't want them to know who I was and what I was doing there. So I took a nice little walk around, and as I walked around, I came upon my first elder. He had one of those things around his neck. I remember, I can't forget, I can't remember what you call them, but there were a lot of elders there. There were tons and tons of elders with the things around their neck, and the little placard on their chest. And we just engaged in some small talk. He called me brother, so I guess I looked like an average witness. And kind of a hot day. Yep. How you doing, brother? Good. And just a little bit of small talk. I did make one mistake though. When I was leaving, I said, "God bless." And I know witnesses don't say that, so I made that mistake. I didn't know if that gave me away or not, and I'm not sure if he's the one who told the other elders who I was, or to keep an eye on me. But so as I walked towards the front entrance, there were lots of elders outside, lots and lots of elders. And when I walked up the stairs, a bunch of them walked up behind me. And I first tried a couple of doors, and the doors were locked. And one of them told me that I had to go through the metal detector. So I went to the center of the building, opened the door, and I had to put my keys and my watch and everything down, just to make sure that I didn't have any guns or explosives or things. And they of course, waved me right through. I don't carry a gun. So as I went through, when you walk in, you have to take a left and go up the stairs. When you go up the stairs, you go right to the top of where the risers are, and you can look down on the convention. So I walked up the stairs, and no one really talked to me that much. When I get to the top of the stairs, I looked around, and one of the elders said, "Are you looking for somebody?" And I said, "No, I'm all set." I said, "Okay, no problem." And he let me alone. I had my phone with me. I thought it was filming, and I tried to walk around to get different angles um, in the convention. I tried to stand in inconspicuous places so that people wouldn't see me trying to film with my phone. And there were a lot of other people there with phones as well, so I wasn't totally out of place with that. I didn't have a thing around my neck. I didn't have a name badge, so I guess that probably stuck out to maybe a few people. I didn't see anybody following me, but I'm sure they were eyes on me uh, through the whole situation. So the thing I noticed was I tried to compare what was there this time as opposed to what happened in 2019, and there are a lot of the area was blocked off. Rick, is it possible to put the pictures up right now?
Yeah, I'll get the pictures right up here, Norman. Let me put them up right now. I'll give you a second.
Yep.
And we'll get those pictures right up. So
Yeah.
let's take a look at this one. Explain this one to us.
Perfect. That's the picture I wanted you to see. If you notice to the left, to the right rather, is the stage, and this is the picture from 2019. If you'll notice where the stage is, parallel with the stage, there's a riser there, and there are also risers that go behind the stage. That was on both sides. This year, all of that was blocked off. So when you see, again, if you look at the where the podium would be, and you go directly across, and a little bit to the left, all that was blocked off. The one over the doorway was blocked off, and the one behind was blocked off, both on that side and on the side that I was in. So right then and there, you're probably talking 300 or 400 people that are blocked from going there. When you go to one of the things I noticed was the floor. Rick, if you've got a picture of the floor, um, if you notice the amount of people on the floor, there are a lot of empty seats, but there's still quite a few people there too. I figure that's probably maybe half, maybe 60% full. This year, unbelievable. It was only filled about 20%. A lot of empty seats. There were very, very few people on the floor. Very few people. They didn't have the baptismal there. Um, as I looked around the stadium, it, when you look at this picture right now, you can see some of the blue seats that are empty. There were a lot more blue seats that were empty this year. I would probably say those rises, right when you look at this picture, they're probably about 80 to 85% full. This year, they're probably like 65% full. You can see a lot of empty seats, a lot of empty rows. Whole rows of people were not there. I would guesstimate probably 2,000 people at the most were at that convention. As I walked around, there were some children there, but very, very few children. Most of them were older people. There were some people who are not in suits. I presume that they were either family members or people who were invited guests or something. But it was the same old boring thing that I had seen before. One of the elders that got up was from the Pepperell congregation, and he had mentioned that the last time that they were able to get together for a convention was in 2019. And then he said in 2020, in the spring of 2020, that's when COVID hit. And so everything had to be put on hold. The conventions were put on hold. Their witnessing work was put on hold. The Kingdom Halls were closed. So he went through all of that. And he said, just think now, 4 years later or 3 years later, we're able to get together again. We've had patience with that. And of course, the whole theme was about patience. But a lot of people from 2019 to 2023 have disappeared. There were, again, empty seats. It was empty seats all over the place. You could have go to any part of the arena, and you could have sat down, no problem. At one point, I looked down at my phone and I see that I wasn't doing anything back with Rick, so I tried to get back on and I tried to videotape, but I guess it didn't work. I stayed there for probably about half an hour, and then I started to walk towards the door. I did walk around the arena quite a bit. Then when I went to leave, I went downstairs, back downstairs to where the metal detectors were, and I talked to the guys at the metal detectors. I said, "Hey, I said, do I need to go through the metal detector to get out?" Joking around. They said, "Yeah, no problem. Just pick any door." So I stepped off to the right and I opened the door. And as soon as I opened the door and walked out, right behind me was Officer Kelleher. I'm sorry, Sergeant Kelleher from the Lowell Police Department. He was right behind me. And as soon as I get out the door, he started to question me. And right next to him was one of the elders. So apparently someone was watching me because as soon as I walked out the door, the sergeant was right behind me. So he immediately asked me uh, if I was with those people down over there, meaning Rick and Dick and Connie. Which hello, Dick. It was wonderful to see you again. Um, I say that I'm good at many things, but one of the things I'm not good at is I'm not good at ad libbing. So I told him that I wasn't with them, which I mean technically I wasn't with them at that point. He said, "Oh, okay." He said, "Who are you with?" And I said, "I'm here by myself." Okay. He said, "Why are you here?" And I said, "Well, there were some people in carts in Lowell." And as soon as I said that, the elder stepped in. And he said, "Oh, yeah, we have carts all over the place. And they invite people to the convention." And the sergeant and the elder started to talk amongst themselves. And I kind of started to back out just a little bit. And at one point I said to the officer, I said, "Can I go?" He said, "Yeah, you're all set." So I left and I walked by the elder that I had seen coming in, and he wished me well. I didn't go back to Rick's table because I didn't want them to see that I was part of what Rick was doing. So I walked over down the hall, the walkway, and Connie and Dick Bodie were there. So I sat down and talked with them for a while, told them what happened, and we talked for a little while. Dick, you're a wonderful guy. I wish you didn't move away. I so enjoyed being with you and Connie. It was wonderful. And then I left. It was a very good experience. I'm looking forward to doing it again next year. One thing that I did do though was when I came home, I went on jw.org and I wanted to look at how many conventions there were to see if this was the only convention in the area or were there others. But one page I stumbled across it for the uh, for the convention was a page that says you're invited. And so next year when I go again, before I go, I'm going to print out that page. So if anyone stops and asks me and says, "Who are you with and why are you here?" I'm going to pull that piece of paper and say, "I was invited. I was invited by from the website by the Watchtower themselves." And they can't say anything because it's there. It's open to the public. I wasn't there to disturb anything, to disturb anybody. I didn't yell or scream or disrupt any of the talks. I was just there to observe. One of the things I did observe too was some of the movies that were playing. They played movies, Getting Closer to Jehovah and that sort of thing. The thing I noticed about the movies was that they were all from Africa. They were all African people uh, in these videos. Um, I don't know. Maybe they couldn't find any local witnesses to do anything, but yeah. So that was my experience with that. I also want to mention one more thing too, Rick, about what you were talking about earlier about the pedophilia and about them announcing that in the Kingdom Hall. Um, you've been on the forefronts of this for a long time. You and a lot of other people have been talking about the pedophilia in the organization, and it's been coming out in the newspapers and the news. Um, the Watchtower must really be it must be really taking a huge effect in the Watchtower if they announce it to the general population inside the Kingdom Halls, because you figure they would want to sweep that under the rug as much as possible. But it must be getting so overwhelming that they have to address it in the Kingdom Hall. So this is making a huge effect. Your ministry and a lot of other ministries The newspaper and the people who are in lawsuits against the Watchtower, it's making a huge effect on them. So much so that they just can't they can't keep it silent anymore, and they have to address the general population. But the protest was great. Oh, I'm sorry. The demonstration, as you say, was great. I did notice a lot of very expensive cars as I walked through the garage to get out of to leave. I wish I could have stayed with you, Rick, but I'm sorry I couldn't. It was a wonderful opportunity, and I'm looking forward to doing it again with you next year.
Well, Norman, I have to tell you, I really appreciate you coming out and doing that. And thank you for sharing your story with us. But boy, I'll tell you what, did everybody have to go through the metal detectors?
Yes, yes. Um, Everyone had to go through. All of the doors were locked except for the ones where they had the metal detectors. The people running the metal detectors were not witnesses; they were average people. Um, but yeah, all the doors were locked. They had to go through that door unless there was a back door somewhere. There were
Well,
also some portions of the Sangha Center were roped off, not just the ones behind the podium, but also other areas that people could go were also roped off, so they couldn't go there either.
well, you know, it's funny because I have not heard of any other conventions where they have metal detectors. But, you know, I mean, we always advertise here at the Six Screens that, you know, up here in Boston is the apostate capital of the world. So maybe, I mean, I'm just hyperventilating here. I don't know for sure, but I'm thinking maybe they were expecting some nefarious activity. Maybe, you know, they were thinking we might come in and shoot people up. I don't know. I mean, they had the Kingdom Hall shooting over there in Germany a few months back. So I'm not sure. I haven't heard of metal detectors being used at a convention. So that's kind of newsworthy. But
Yeah,
yeah, isn't that something? That's crazy. Yeah.
yeah, everyone had to go through the metal detectors. Like I said, all the other doors were locked, and we all had to go through it. I had to put my watch and my phone and everything down in order to be able to go through. Like I said, there were a lot of elders there. A lot of guys with, again, the rope around, I forget what they call it, and the little badge. There were a lot of, I mean, elders were everywhere. And, you know, Rick, I think that the society must have been, um, must have been listening in on the demonstration. And I feel really bad for the people who have to follow you, because I'm sure the society follows every one of your programs to see what you're saying and everything that you're doing. And I feel bad for the witnesses who have to do that. I'm sure they're listening to us right now, and I often wonder, you know, what keeps them in the society when they're learning about what you're talking about, all the information that you bring out from all over the world, and all the people who come on and saying how their lives were destroyed by the society. What kind of people are listening into your program that are not coming out, that are not saying anything? They either have to be totally sold out or a fool, because all the things that are coming out, all of the pedophilia, all the lives that have been destroyed, all the families that have been destroyed, it's got to have an effect on them. So if you're listening right now, what are you made of?
Well, I tell you what's really fascinating to me is the metal detectors. But you know, I'll tell you what. They've been watching Six Screens, that is Watchtower, has been observing it. We had inside information that they do monitor what we do here. And they monitor not only us, but they monitor Cedars. He's another guy that exposes the Watchtower. I'm sure they monitor Mike and Kimmy and others as well. But they want to know what is going on in the world of the apostates. But boy, for them to put you through a metal detector, I mean, they knew. I mean, they know that we do have the Six Screens headquarters only 6 miles away from the Sangha Center. So they were probably saying, "Man, these guys are going to hit us," but they want to just make sure that nothing was going to happen. Well, Norman, I'll tell you what, that was amazing what you did, and I wish we had the video from it. But you explained it all. You explained it all. So you're a good man, Norman. Don't you ever change?
Well, thank you, Rick. It was an honor to be there and an honor to work with you through all of these 18 years plus, from the time that we first met until, right up until now. We've gone to all the I've been to all the protests outside the Kingdom Hall at the memorial meals, and it's always been a wonderful experience. And this demonstration outside the convention, that was wonderful. I wish I could have stayed longer. I had a private another commitment to go to. But next year, if you could let me know a little bit more ahead of time, I'm going to be there every step of the way, and I'm going to be holding up signs. And my wife, who is housebound at this point, she's looking forward to getting better, and hopefully she'll be with us next year. She's itching to go, to the protest outside the Kingdom Hall and outside the conventions.
Well, Norman, I have to tell you, I felt so good last Sunday. I don't know what it was, but I call it an adrenaline rush. And I just felt like I'm 75 years old, but I felt like I was 22. I'm serious. I mean,
Yep.
oh yeah, I just felt like, wow, such a easy, peaceful feeling came out of me. And that's what you will experience when you go and do a protest at a Kingdom Hall or a convention center. Norman, thank you.
But Rick, you had a unique moment there because there's only one way out of the Songa Center, and they had to go by you. They had to go by you. They had to go by all of your signs. When we go to the Kingdom Hall, they can park at the McDonald's across the street, or they can park at the shopping center next door, so they don't have to go by us. But when you were at the exit, boy, there's no way out. and
It was
you
great.
know, and you got to think, the ones who were facing straight ahead and not looking at your signs, you still made an impact on them because they're afraid. Rick, if someone were protesting outside of my church, I would go out there and I would want to talk with them. I don't care who. I don't care if they were Muslims or anyone else who was outside of my church or some disgruntled person who used to go there. I would go outside and I would talk to them, and I would find out, and I would share Christ with them. But these people, they're so scared that they can't even look at you. When the witnesses have come to my door, whenever they've talked with me, as soon as they find out that I know what I'm talking about, they run like a bunch of scared children. They do not stand up for their faith. And these people were driving by you. They would not and could not stand up for their faith, because if they did, they would have pulled around the corner, parked their car, and walked right over to you and shared it with you. But they couldn't, because their faith is flawed and they know it. The faith in the Watchtower is crooked and it's wrong, and they know it. In their heart of hearts, they know it. Even the older ones, they've seen all the new light. They know it's a crock, but they choose to ignore it because they don't want to lose their faith. Sorry, they don't want to lose their family, so they put up a front. And when they are confronted, they just call you an apostate and walk away. That's their shield that they stand behind. Did you call you an apostate? And that's the excuse that they have, and that's how they justify it in their minds. But if they really believe this, they would have parked their car, walked over to your table, and they would have talked with you about it.
Well, yes. In fact, Norman, I have to tell you, those necklaces. I mean, all the elders. I couldn't believe it. But coming out of the arena, there were at one time I counted about a dozen elders that they were really like humming around like a bees in a bee's nest. So seriously, they were looking over. They're trying to see what we were doing. They all had those necklaces. They called them land yards. And, they all seemed to be in unison. They were really looking over and seeing what we were doing down at the end of the driveway. And they actually had one elder on a motorbike, if you can believe that, an electric motorbike. And he was driving around, and he did stop and talk to us, if you can believe that or not. And one of our members here of the Six Screens team, they asked him, do you really believe all of this stuff? And so he started coming up with, well, back in the days of the Romans of the first century, they had to adjust their thinking too. They thought that the kingdom was going to start back then. So he went into some biblical discourse. but he did not. It did not register with him. Dick Borgie here at the Watchtower at our 6 screens, he was telling them that you have to really examine what's going on in the Watchtower. How long can you go along with 1914 and the kingdom came and all of this? So they had a good little discussion with him. I thought that was very interesting. Yes.
Yeah, they claim to be special, like God's good squeaky clean organization, until they get caught with their pants down, and with the pedophiles and all kinds of different wrongdoings, and then they say, well, everybody else does it, and they try to justify it, but they've been telling you all along that they're special, and God chose them because they're good and they're clean, and now when that's gone, they say, well, we're just like everybody else. That's no reason. That's no excuse.
And no excuse. No excuse at all, Norman. No excuse at all. Yeah.
That takes away their specialness of being God's organization, and I think that there are a lot more PMOs out there than we know, because you can't do all these changes and not say and not start to question it. Again, they've got a lot to lose, but I think that the more people that leave, the less they have to lose, because they're losing a lot of their friends and family. And I think that it's going to be like a cascading effect, that they're going to have to leave because a lot of their friends and family are leaving, and they're going to listen to their conscience and say, this is not New Light. This is wrong.
Well, I see it already happening, Norman, and I really appreciate you wanting to come on tonight and share these thoughts with us. You're a good man, Norman, and you just keep remaining strong and exposing the Watchtower. We really appreciate your assistance and your help. Thank you very much, Norman. Yeah.
And Rick, I along with thousands of other people out there appreciate what you do every single week. I mean, you told me that you've never missed a week in what, 12 years or 13 years now?
Actually going on 18 years, yeah.
Okay, so you've never missed a broadcast.
No,
and Rick, I tell you, that is a huge sacrifice, and we all appreciate what you do. You and Susan, you do a wonderful job, and all the people of the program. Dick Borgie, again, Dick, a great shout out to you and Connie. You guys are wonderful. You run a wonderful organization, Rick, and you keep up the good work.
Thank you very much, Norman. So we'll be in touch, and we'll get another protest going here soon. Thank you.
Looking forward to it.
Good man. Thank you. All right. Well, there you go. That's Norman LaRoe from Lowell, Massachusetts, and he helped us out. And friends, he never was one of Jehovah's Witnesses, but his sister-in-law is a witness, and he's trying to help her. Isn't it amazing how there's so many people that really want to help the witnesses, and even though they've never been touched by the tentacles, they want to do it. Well, I have to tell you, I mean, I'm reporting here tonight that the Exercise Patients Convention, the attendance is very, very low. I want to report some conventions around the country and let you know that this is not the way it used to be for the Watchtower. The Watchtower right now is in mental decline. Yeah, it's not the same organization as it used to be. People are now seeing it. They're not smiling. You go to the conventions, and we could have asked Norman about that, I guess, but you go to the conventions and people aren't smiling. They're not as enthusiastic. They're not exuberant like they were at one time. The whole vibe of the convention is cooled down. It's apathetic. In fact, it's kind of sad. Now, I'm not trying to make myself come back into the witness world. But, when I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses, when you went to an assembly or a convention, it was like the highlight of your life. We were excited. We were exuberant. We felt wonderful that we could be part of Jehovah's organization. But now I'm wondering how many PMOs, that is how many people are physically in and mentally out of the organization. And now I've got people writing to me all week long here, and they've been giving me the attendance at the conventions. And friends, I have to tell you, if I was a governing body member, or an official of the Watchtower, I'd be very concerned. I mean, it's not what it was at one time. The attendance is about 60% of what it used to be pre-pandemic. Clearly, the Watchtower is losing power. Now, I'm not making this stuff up. I'm not looking through rose-colored glasses, but 40% less in attendance, that's what it seems to be for this Exercise Patients Convention for 2023. And it seems to be pretty consistent everywhere. I'm very curious what they're going to do next year, because, I mean, it's tanking. If you have conventions at 40% less, that is something else. So I'm just thinking out loud here more than anything. Can the Watchtower really pull this off? I mean, the 2023 conventions are a bellwether. They are kind of like a forecast of what's going to take place in the Watchtower. They are losing members, losing convention attendees like crazy. So what I want to do is I want to play a video. I want to thank you, Tammy, if you're listening in tonight, for sending me the video from Macon, Georgia. I want you to hear this. I think you'll find it very interesting. And let's play the video. Let me just get that up here right now. So we want to share our screen, as we say. So let's share the screen. Let's get it up here right now so you can see it. And that would be the Jehovah's Witness Convention, I believe. I got a lot of things going on here on YouTube. Okay, let's see what we got. Convention attendees. No, it's not that one. Just give me a few seconds here, folks. I got a lot of things up I'm trying to put up here tonight. So could it be this one? No, it's not that. But anyways, it would be, okay. Just give me a few seconds. Trying to share stuff here sometimes gets a little bit difficult, but we'll try to get it. But anyways, if not, I'll just tell you about it. Okay, no, it's not that one. Let's see if it's this one. No, just playing around here with different. Okay, let me just tell you about the Macon, Georgia Convention. It was at the Macon Coliseum, and I have to tell you that they were claiming 14,000 people were there. But it's kind of crazy how the witnesses this year are accounting attendance. So they had a little video clip that was played on the local news, and they said that 14,000 people attended the convention. But, that was 4,500 people 3 times each day for the convention. So the Coliseum, they handle, or at least they hold 9,000 people capacity, but they only had 4,500 people showing up each day. So that's half. That's half. That's 50% of the people, more than 50% of the Jehovah's Witnesses were not there. And then we also had, let me get rid of this here right now. I want to be able to show you something else as well. Let's cancel that out. I want to show you something else as well that I got some pictures here that people have sent me. And thank you for sending me the pictures, everyone. I really do appreciate it. And I want you to see these images as well from different conventions around the world. So in Brighton, England, let's see if we can't show that one. Brighton, England, where are you? Okay, let's go right here. Take a look at this. That is in Brighton, England. That is the convention yesterday. That would have been on July 14th. Look at that convention. There's the picture. There's nobody there. Nobody there. And all I can think of is when I think of this, what the witnesses are thinking, cramped and narrow is the road leading to life. That of course, would be Matthew 7, 13, 14. Enter through the narrow gate, for wide the gate and broad the road that leads to destruction. And many enter through it, but small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few will find it. Well, looking at that picture, I would say only a few are finding it. I mean, the vast majority of times, I mean, that scripture that I just read to you, Matthew 7, 13, 14, the vast majority of times the scripture was applied to non-believers, as we know, but now they could apply it to themselves. You're looking at an empty stadium. So narrow that road must be. And also Buckingham, Pennsylvania. I'm going to give you some numbers here. I think you'll find fascinating. Buckingham, Pennsylvania. 800 people were there. That's a regional convention, folks. 800 people? That's nothing. That's less than a circuit assembly. Edmonton, Canada. Let's show the picture for Edmonton, Canada. Well, there it is right there. You take a look. You be there. I mean, pictures speak 1,000 words, right? People think in pictures. They're moved to action in pictures. How are you moved by looking at a stadium like that? It's empty. Now, Edmonton, Canada, they have a capacity in that stadium of 20,000 people, but there was 10,400 on Friday afternoon. That's half. Now, many people commenting here, I'm getting people writing me in 6 screens, sending me information on the conventions. They said that a few years ago, pre-COVID, that assembly would have been packed. You would have had a hard time even finding a seat. And even though they're playing up there in Edmonton, Canada, that's in Alberta, they have been playing an advertisement on TV and newspapers. Jehovah's Witnesses bought time advertising on TV and newspapers to try to get people to the convention. Look at that convention. It's empty. I mean, that's not the way Jehovah's Witness conventions used to be. I mean, really, when you stop and think about it. So let's move on. Let's take a look at Tucson, Arizona. Let me give you another picture. Look at that. Look at this, folks. That is amazing. There's nobody there. It's unreal. Tucson, Arizona. Now on Friday, they had 2,200 people. And then on Saturday, they had another 2,175. So, I mean, let's face it. Take a look. I mean, just take a look at that convention center. There's nobody there. Now, people have written into me and told me that when they went to the Tucson, Arizona convention, that they had overflow rooms. This was just, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago. They had overflow rooms for latecomers. If you came to the convention late, you couldn't even find a room. Find a seat. You had to go to an overflow room. This is surprising to say, isn't it? I mean, really, many people are telling me they've been writing in, Rick, that Tucson convention was packed. So I've heard from friends from Arizona is a place that is rapidly declining. People are fading. So that's the information I'm getting here at the 6 screens. In Arizona, people are leaving in droves, and the younger people are just getting up and walking away. Well, it's pretty evident what we see there in Arizona, Tucson. It's not the same organization anymore. I mean, I'm just flabbergasted. I'm finding this very, very fascinating to see all of these empty seats. Something is going on, friends. The Watchtower is dead. It just hasn't fallen over yet. Stick a fork in them. Take them off the grill. We have all these little euphemisms. And how about the monkey died? The circus is over. Seriously, something is not right in the Jehovah's Witness world. Well, let's take a look at Henrietta or Rochester, New York, for their convention. They just had their convention. Well, how many people showed up for the convention? 804 people. That is nothing. 804 people for a regional convention? That is absolutely nuts. Billing, Montana. They expected 4,000 people at the Billing, Montana convention last weekend. What do they get? 1,900. Oh my goodness. That is Tank City. So you can see that things just are not working out for the Watchtower. And let's take a look at Portland, Oregon. 900 in attendance at the convention. That's a regional convention. When is the last time you heard about 900 people showing up for a regional convention? This is nuts. They're tanking. Friends, I'm not trying to in any way embellish it. I'm not trying to overemphasize it. I'm just telling you. What I do here is people have been writing me. They're telling me they've been to these conventions. This is what they're finding out. This is not your father's organization anymore. This is a different organization. People are leaving in droves. What is the Watchtower going to do? How are they going to combat this? What are they going to say? How are they going to handle it? They're going to have to come up with some new light and do something, because these conventions are just tanking. Hey, if you'd like to come on, say hello to us, you're on with us. Go ahead, say hello to us. Speak up. You'd like to come on with us, hit *6 on your telephone pad, and you'll be ready to talk. So go ahead. We do have Anonymous on with us right now. Would you like to? Go ahead. You're on with us.
Hi, Rick. This is Connie.
Yes.
I wanted to wish you happy birthday, Rick, and we sure love you.
Well, we love you too, Connie, and thank you very much. Yeah, I'll be 75, but I don't feel it. I'll tell you, after that protest Sunday, I feel like a 26-year-old guy. Seriously.
Yep. Well, you know, you have so much enthusiasm and you're helping so many people, Rick. You know, it was the first time I've ever been out there, and I've been out 40 years. So, you know, I've had a long time to be able to heal from the Watchtower. And, you know, I really love people a lot. And it was a wonderful opportunity. I wanted to say thank you for inviting me to be, you know, a part of it. But I was going to say, Rick, just a couple things with regards to the demonstration. You know, back in the day, I was in the 70s, before 75, and then early 80s. And I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area, huge cosmopolitan city in the suburbs around San Francisco. And, you know, Rick, when we would have we called them district conventions back then, you know, you would have, it was no joke, you'd have like 25, 26,000 people. And it was jam-packed in the summer assemblies. And it was interesting, as I was standing there, you know, with the rest of the folks that were there, it was like, you know, that would have been comparable to our circuit assemblies that we had 2,000-3,000 people, you know, in Fremont, California, down in the Bay Area. And the other comment I wanted to make, Rick, is, you know, I love to people watch, right? And when the people came out, you know, they should have been jovial and happy and encouraged, but Rick, they were not even smiling. I mean, and that told me a lot. It's like they were just meeting their requirements to go to the assembly, to be good witnesses, you know, to pay their dues, put in their time, and get the heck out of there. But none of them were smiling. None of them were smiling. And it was very interesting because, you know, that's the nonverbal communication. That speaks volumes. But, you know, Rick, it was very interesting. Some people really loved us being there. Some of us were afraid. They were afraid to even pull up towards the stop sign. I thought that was very sad to see. They're so controlled by the spirit of fear there. But then, you know, I know there were other people that, you know, flashed their headlights and they were trying to say, you know, good job, thanks for being here. In other words, like they're PMOs. You know, we're in, but we're mentally out, and we support you, but we got to be careful because, you know, our families here and so forth. Rick, it was a wonderful experience. I just really encourage it for everybody. Don't be afraid. You have nothing to be afraid to stand up for truth and righteousness. I mean, you really are, as an act of love for humanity, and brothers and sisters, people that are in the organization. There are a lot of good people, and they're just really spiritually blinded. They're deceived. We do live in an age of deception, and Watchtower is one of the biggest ones. So I had the sign, you know, Rich and I had the sign about the child molesters, and that really resonated with me because, you know, I don't know if some people know, but a very, very close friend of mine had been sexually abused as a child, and I knew him very, very well, and it destroyed his life. It really destroyed his life. So nobody can tell me that being molested, raped, sexually abused just move on and, let it go and move on with your life, because it doesn't work that way. But what I wanted to say, we were holding that sign, and there was a young lady, I'd say Rick, she probably was like, I don't know, maybe 21, 22, and she had the window down, and she looked over at me and, shook her head like she didn't believe it. She didn't believe the sign, and it had the sign of different rapist molesters in the organization with their faces. And she didn't want to believe it, Rick. She even sort of muttered out, she says, "No, it's not true." And I said, "Oh, yes, it is true." And I would have loved to have had a conversation with her, Rick, to tell her, don't tell me this is not true. I really wanted to say that, Rick. I'm not confrontational, but I really do speak the truth. I wanted to tell her, you know what? I know Candace Conti personally, okay? I have her phone number and her mother's phone number. Don't tell me that she's an imaginary person, that she was not sexually abused, and this is all a bunch of lies from apostates, because she won the largest lawsuit against Watchtower. So sometimes, Rick, people can be very ignorant because they really just don't want to swallow the pill of truth with regards to this organization. And, honey, the thing I said after we all finished and gathered things and we were heading back home with you, Rick, is that, if we could just help one person, just one person at a time, then we know in our heart of hearts that it was all truly well worth it, Rick, And I just really wanted to say happy birthday. I really love you and Susan. And thank you, Rick, for giving me the opportunity to be with you and Rich, to show my love to other people. And we're not evil. We're not evil. We do it out of love, okay? And it does it take a lot of courage? Maybe it does. I don't know. I've been out a long time. But the thing is, when you know something is really the truth, you have to expose the evil. Otherwise, you're just as, like the Jews, for example, back in Hitler's time. People knew it was wrong. They knew it was wrong, but they didn't say anything. So they were just as guilty as the people who were murdering all those Jews. So anyway, I wanted to just say thank you, Rick, and happy birthday.
Wow, thank you very much, Constance. We had such a good time out there. You guys had some fun, and I'm glad that things worked out the way it did. Really, we have close to 12,000 clicks, views on YouTube right now. So people liked it as well. Well, we're glad that we got the news tonight and talking about what's going on behind the curtain of the Watchtower. So we've got some really good programming still coming up tonight. Now, friends, don't leave us. After JW World News, we have Fritz Springmeier. Do you know Fritz? Well, Fritz wrote the book, The Bloodlines of the Illuminati. And, he ties the Watchtower into all of this. Fritz Springmeier is going to be coming on with us, and he's going to be talking about many things. I'm going to be interviewing him tonight. He's going to be answering many questions, and we'll try to keep him right on track so that you guys can get a real understanding of what Fritz is all about. He's a former Jehovah's Witness, but he's an author as well. And some of you guys, I know, you don't get into conspiracy, but you got to listen to Fritz. He's coming on tonight in about 15 minutes. So by all means, stay tuned. All right, well, let's take a look and see what else is going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. Well, we've got about 10 minutes left. Yes, Randy.
If I just have time to say, I want to say one thing real quick while you were talking about the low attendance and how little they are and how they resemble like a circuit assembly.
Yes.
Well, you remember earlier, Chewy mentioned how there was a lot that was assigned for the regional to Denton, Texas. Okay, and I thought, that's to me, but actually, Denton, Texas has a wonderful assembly hall. But guess what? It's not. It's meant for circuit assemblies. It wasn't built for the regional conventions.
Are you there with us, Randy?
Yeah. Could you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I heard you. Yeah, you just kind of dropped off there. But so give us that again. You say it wasn't. Go ahead.
Yeah, they have a wonderful convention center in Denton, Texas. But that was news to me how Chewy said that they're having regional conventions there, because that convention center It's not a regional convention center assembly hall. It's for like circuit assemblies.
Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, sorry, Randy, just get other calls coming in here, so just trying to do a lot of things here at once. So you feel that was the way it is, huh?
Well, I mean, it's a very small assembly hall. It wouldn't be what we would consider district or regional. It would be just like a circuit assembly hall. I mean, it was nice. They even had a cafeteria where they had soft serve ice cream before they quit that. But they had soft serve ice cream machines. But still, it's not the size of a regional convention.
Well, what's happening, Randy, is they're really maneuvering. They're playing with districts and circuits and breaking them up. I'm not sure what's going on, but I think they're doing it in order to somehow explain to the witnesses, well, we didn't have many there because he broke the circuit up. I'm not sure what their plans are, but boy, they are tanking. These conventions are tanking, Randy. All right, so let's take a look. Let's see how many people. I mean, really, when we look at these numbers here, I can't believe the numbers. I cannot believe the numbers that are. The Jehovah's Witness conventions are just unbelievable. They're not getting the people they want to get. So go ahead. We got 602. It looks like Arizona. Go ahead, Gilbert.
Hey, Rick, that Tucson picture, just let you know, because you already know this, it used to be standing room only. Everywhere. It was jam-packed like sardines. But that picture, you're right about what's happening in Arizona. But I just want to let everybody know on the 6 screens, this is why the 6 screens is on the cutting edge. We're on the chat section, we're talking, Rick, about helping the governing body with the 2024 theme. And I think we apostates can, on the comment section, write down what you think the 2024 convention theme should be. And so that's what we want to do. We want to always be making fun of these people, laughing at them, because George Orwell said every joke is a tiny revolution. The more we laugh at the governing body, we show them that the emperor has no clothes. And so, yeah. But Rick, that Tucson, it was just so scary when I saw it. It used to be like a rock concert, jam-packed.
Wow. Well, I mean, that's, in fact, I got a bunch of people. In fact, someone sent me that video clip of at least that picture. And boy, people were telling me the same thing, Gilbert, that Tucson convention center used to be really packed, but not this time around, altogether different. Thank you, Gilbert. Thank you very much. Well, I just want to check and see, is Fritz Springmeyer on with us? Is he on the telephone line? Fritz, are you on with us tonight? Hit *6 on your telephone pad. Fritz Springmeyer, are you on there with us tonight? So let's see if he's on with us. We got Fritz coming on here next, and we'll make sure that we get him on with us. And, well, let's see. Just looking for Fritz Springmeyer. He's going to be coming on the telephone line tonight. So I'm going to give him a call in a short while if I don't see him, but he is scheduled to come on, so we're looking forward to that. So anyways, does anyone have anything you want to say about what you heard here tonight on JW World News? We'll give you that time to do it. So go ahead, speak up, say hello to us. What do you want to say about what you heard here tonight? I mean, you heard about the child sex abuse in Pennsylvania. You heard about even that meeting that they had after a meeting actually in the Watchtower this week, midweek meeting, talking about child sex abuse. They brought it out that there is some sexual perverts even in the congregations. I thought that was kind of fascinating. All right. Well, I'm just trying to see if we get Fritz coming on. He's coming on next here on our 6 Screens Telenetwork. So I'm just going to let me just make sure we got it on here. Just trying to do a few things here at once, multitasking. So who would like to speak up? You're on with us. Go ahead. Go ahead, Ken. Go ahead. We got 906. Go ahead, 906.
Oh, yeah. Now, Mr. Fenn, I can attest to the fact, I'm just going to speak for this area in Michigan. Back years ago when witnesses used to come to my door and all that, Watchtower Society or whatever, they used to have conventions, local conventions. I forget what they call them now. But they had local conventions here, and they used to pack in all the auditoriums. I got information from people that went to them that they would really pack them in, and they even from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan to Canada, Lower Michigan. There's 100 miles from here is the Sioux, Canada border there, and they've got a big convention center over there. They'd pack that in and all over the place, and they would have they'd have big assemblies in these major cities that we have in the Upper Peninsula, but now none of that's happening anymore. And they talk about going door to door again and restoring their activities. It's not happening. It's just like everybody says that it's tanking. It's going downhill, and the witnesses are painting themselves into a corner all the time. And I heard that lady come on and talked about the incest and the rape and that's going on there, and how a lot of people are saying that that's wrong. No, it is not. You can't make that kind of stuff up. Matter of fact, we're only hearing a fraction of what's going on. A lot of stuff we don't hear about, and it's bad.
Well, no doubt it is, Ken. It really is bad. It's really, but I'll tell you what, though, it's really shaking the witness world up, and many are beginning to leave. So I really think it's a good thing in many respects that all of this is hitting at once, because it is getting a lot of people to leave the Watchtower. Well, I'm just trying to get.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear that very much and everything like that. So it's about time for me to say good night here. So I say good night to Six Screens Network. God bless and be with you, and we'll see you next week.
Oh, thank you, Ken. Thank you very much. Go ahead. You're on with us. Who's on with us next? Go ahead.
Next to me, Yuma. Oh, I'm sorry. After you.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Jesse.
Okay, I just got a quick question, Rick. As the numbers dwindle, like what you saw, what your guest saw, and what the last caller just saw, we're seeing it with our eyes. The numbers drop. Do you think the brothers that are staying, our brothers and sisters that are staying, are becoming more fanatic? Or you remember Barack Obama? He called us the bitter clingers. A lot of us the bitter clingers. Do you think in the Watchtower they're experiencing something similar, bitter climber? They're going to hang on to the end.
Yeah, what I think is going on, Jesse, is it's what they call, it's an accounting term. It's called sum cost accounting. And what that means is a lot of older timers that have been in the Watchtower, they put so much into it. Their life's resources, their time, they didn't get good jobs, they didn't go to school, some didn't even get married or have children. And they put so much time into this that they can't give up on it. So there's some that are in that category, the sum cost witnesses. That's my position on it. Yeah.
Isn't that sad? That is so sad. But I agree. It makes common sense because there's nowhere to run. There's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's
Well, Jesse, always good to, well, thank you very much, Jesse. Always good to hear from Jesse. Don't you be a stranger. You come back and see us. Okay, we got, looks like 315. I think that's Fran. Yes.
Hello, Rick. Yes, it's Joe and Fran. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I wanted to wish you a happy birthday.
Well, thank you.
And just a reminder, next week we're having Debbie Glander. She was a former Jehovah's Witness. We're going to be interviewing her, and she went to school after she left the witnesses and became a therapist. So she's going to be on, and she'll answer questions, and we're going to hear all about her story and how she's helping people.
Well, that's going to be wonderful. I'm looking forward to that. So that's next week right here on our network. So we're looking forward to that. Thank you, Fran. I'll be in touch with you and Joe, and we'll discuss a little bit, but I think it's a great thing. Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah. And like Joe said, we're always ready to link people up. So if anyone's out there and needs, someone to connect with, we can do that.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Fran. Well, we're trying to get Fritz on with us. Fritz should be coming on here next. Fritz, are you out there? If you are, hit *6. If you're on our network, hit *6. I'm gonna call for someone to come in. Maybe Dick Borgie, Constance. If you just want to come in and take a couple of seconds, I got to make a call here. So if you'd like to come in and kind of be holding the program down while I get a hold of Fritz. I was on the phone with him.
I'll be on it, Rick.
Okay, go ahead, Dick. Go ahead, take it away. I'm going to hold of Fritz. He'll be coming on with us.
I'm here.
Oh, you are? Okay, Fritz. All right, you are there. All right. I wasn't sure, so I was just going to give you a call and say, okay, Fritz, come on. Well, listen, if you're on here with us, let's go forward. So just hang on. We'll do this in about 5 minutes. We'll get you on, Fritz. Okay, hang in there with us. Okay. So we got Fritz Springmeyer. He'll be on here very, very shortly. So anyways, I guess that ends the JW World News tonight, but I want to let you know that we do have a Sunday program tomorrow. Friends, I have to tell you, we do not talk about theology. We don't get into the scriptures. We don't discuss any of that on Saturday night. I think you guys know it by now, right? We just don't do it. But on Sunday, we talk about theology. And I think it's amazing because, many people do leave the Watchtower because of the theological teachings. So if theology concerns you, come in tomorrow, beginning at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We got a program called Knowing God. We have two Christian apologists, Jody Bishop and Scott Walton. They'll be on tomorrow at 1 o'clock. And then at 2 o'clock, we have Anne Marie coming back with her program, Ex-Jehovah's Witnesses Share Their Christian Testimony. She'll be on tomorrow at 2. And then at 3, we do JW World News. That's the news the Watchtower doesn't want us talking about. And then, of course, at 4, we have the Christian Court. Oh, if you haven't watched this program, you got to see it. It deals with peculiar Christian questions. It's not going to, it's not a salvation point. They're not going to keep you out of the kingdom, but peculiarities among Christians, they differ in thought. So that's at 4 o'clock, and then Making Disciples with Jay Hess at 5 o'clock. So we're looking forward to that. Now, I also want to say, if you like what you see here tonight, why don't you do this? Okay, just subscribe to the channel, subscribe on YouTube, and that'll get more and more people to see what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. And also what you could do is, why don't you join our Six Screens Facebook group? Get into Facebook and join the Six Screens Facebook group. And another thing too, I want to tell you, I don't want you to send any money here. I know people, Rick, I want to help you, your network, your cameras, all. I don't want it. I'm not being hard on you, but don't send any money to me, please. It didn't cost me any money to get myself out of the Watchtower. Well, why would I want to charge you money? Why would I want you to be a patron? Or why would I want you to send money here? That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get you out of the Watchtower. That's my main purpose. So please don't send any money here. I really mean that. I'm okay. I do okay. I'm glad to be able to do this program and be able to present it to you every Saturday night. But what you could do for me, if you really like the program, subscribe, like us, share it. That means more than money. That means more than $1,000 to me if you guys would share what you're hearing here tonight, because what that will do is it'll spread the word. It'll get more and more people to come to grips with what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. So anyways, we're going to move on. We're going to end this program. We have got Fritz Springmeyer. He's coming up next. Man, this network is growing. We have some great programs. So Fritz Springmeyer, he is the author of The Bloodlines of the Illuminati. He's coming on next on the Six Screens. So stay with us. And I want to thank everyone for coming in and getting the real news, the real truth behind the Watchtower organization. And I just want to say this, the last one, leaving the Watchtower, by all means, turn off the new light. We'll see you next Saturday night on tomorrow, JW World News Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you for coming in and being with us tonight. Fritz Springmeyer up next. Stay with us.